obstructed, but if you look under the palm trees and behind the bushes on your right, you can see the Ankole cattle back there. Those are also known as Watusi cattle for the tribe of people in Africa that first domesticated them. Those animals are still domesticated today, but they're not used for product. They're not beef cows or dairy cows. They're more like a status symbol. Having a lot of Ankole cattle and leaving them out on your front lawn is a great way to show off your wealth and riches in Africa. What a great view of the giraffe here on our left. If you can see this one eating right here, see that long prehensile tongue in action? Well, that tongue, the giraffe tongue, usually not the color you'd expect. They're actually dark purple. That's a color very high in melanin, so it helps to keep their tongues from getting sunburned. Now this is really important because the giraffes spend about 16 to 20 hours out of their day eating with their tongues outside their mouths, baking in this hot Savannah sun. Heading into Packard Point here, we already have one on our right. You can see their signature form of thermoregulation in action. African elephants' ears are so massive they can be used to cool themselves down up to 15 degrees just by waving them back and forth. And that has to do a little bit with the airflow around their bodies, but even more to do with the many veins inside their ears and just how they get the blood flowing through there. On the hill to your left, there's a mandrill the monkey Rafiki is based off of. They have those beautiful blue and pink painted faces and little yellow beards. Now the face looks a bit dark right now, but it's going to brighten up with age and brighten up with excitement as the blood rushes straight to them. We've got even more elephant territory ahead, belonging to primarily the females and their young. The males and females are usually kept separate on the reserve, as elephants are a matriarchal society. So the lowest ranking female ranks higher than even the highest ranking male. Males even get kicked out of the herd at around 13 or 14 years old. Now you may have noticed some knockdown trees on the way into this area. There's another one on your right and plenty more up ahead. Most of that is from the elephants themselves trying to use these trees as a scratching post. But with a full-grown elephant weighing up to 14,000 pounds, the trees out here don't withstand that weight for long, which isn't a bad thing. Down trees can then be hollowed out and used as a habitat by smaller animals, or if they lay across a body of water, they might be used as a bridge. Elephants walk around through the forest, knocking out a literal highway system for smaller animals to move through, and in the same vein, they use their tusks to dig up dried waterbeds, creating fresh new watering holes for other animals to drink from. Now, I would say that the best example of their impact has little to do with what they dig up or knock down, and is more so in what they create. As elephant stomachs, like most others, can't process seeds, but elephants eat a lot. So a single adult elephant produces about 1 ton of seed-filled poop per week. That means every time they use the restroom, they are planting hundreds of trees, fertilizing the ground as they go, and they're scattering that everywhere. Also creating habitats for dung beetles, which is a smaller but very vital part of the ecosystem nonetheless. So as gross as this all sounds, I think you get the idea. Elephants are keystone species, partially because of their feces. They play a lot of really interesting roles in their many ecosystems, and they are super important to the general health and well-being of this planet. Sadly, I don't see any more elephants out right now, at least not in the more visible parts. You are welcome to keep looking for them just over the tall grass back there in the back. But a little bit closer to the truck on that same side, we're going to have the greater flamingo. These are the least colorful, but the largest of all the flamingo. They're typically about 5 feet long from bill to tail, and they weigh 8 to 9 pounds, when most other flamingo only weigh about 4 pounds. And there are some younger ones in here, if you know what to look for. It might be a little bit faded by now. They have a little bit of gray left over on the back of their necks. That's the color that they're born with. They don't get that pink we all know and love, at least not fully, until about 2 or 3 years old. That's because it comes from a chemical in their diets called beta-carotene. Now that word beta-carotene is not meant to be confused with another similar word out here. That word is keratin. That's what rhino horns are made out of, so you're looking at it on your left. If you've heard of keratin in a different context before, it's Probably because that's the exact same material as our hair and our fingernails. So it's pretty ridiculous that the rhinos are being poached for their horns, especially when they don't hold any legitimate value whatsoever. The big issue nowadays is there's a lot of countries in Africa and East Asia that believe in a sort of folk medicine. They think rhino horns have medicinal properties. Now, of course, being made of keratin, we know that's not true. So over the last few years, we've been using the Disney Conservation Fund to raise awareness of this fact. We have been setting up ad campaigns in these countries and utilizing the local celebrities there, all in an effort to teach people the difference between keratin and real medicine. Want to get that poaching to stop in the near future and create a healthier society there in the process. I see a cheetah on our left. You can see where that green grass starts to turn a little bit brown and get really shaded back there. It's lying down, its tail twitches every now and then. The fastest land animal on the entire planet. They can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles an hour in under 3 seconds, and they top out at around 80 miles an hour. They're also the only daytime hunters of the big cats. That's because their night vision is no better than mine or yours. And being daytime hunters, they've got a pretty unique adaptation that most other felines don't. The black lines that stretch from the inside of their eyes down to the corners of their mouth functions like a football player's eye black, attracting the sun there and reflecting it off their face. That way they're not getting blinded when they run. Now, I highly doubt our other fearsome felines are going to be out right now. Lions are nocturnal, so they're usually sleeping inside the comfort of their den this time of day. I always encourage people to ride the safari twice, whether you see the lions or not. No two safaris are ever the same. You'll get a new driver teaching you new facts, and you will likely see some new animals out here later on as well. I would say one of your best chances of seeing the lions is maybe an hour and a half right before we close. 5:30 onward. Unfortunately, yeah, it does not look like they're out right now. We're going to look for some warthogs on our left, though. We're going to at least check out some of that Lion King trio. There you go, in that middle section, the larger tree, there's two lying right behind it, and then one more to the right near those rocks. Now, these are some younger, newer warthogs to the reserve. Their tusks haven't even quite come in all the way yet, but the elders in the area have already dug them out some burrows, which is an essential part of the warthog's environment, as they don't have any special form of thermoregulation. That's their way of dealing with the heat. This is a really impressive view of the rhinos, but there's also an ostrich right back there as well, the fastest animal on two legs. Ostriches can run up to 40 miles an hour, so they may be flightless, but I don't think you need working wings when you can run that fast. Now, they still use their wings in a pretty clever way, so while they're running, they often throw them in the direction they want to turn. That helps them to cut the air and turn a little bit sharper, like sails on a boat. And ostrich eggs are pretty impressive in their own right. They're about 3 pounds each and a 1/4 inch thick. Those are the largest and strongest bird eggs in the entire world. They can even support a human's weight standing on top of them. As we head out of the savannah, we're making our way onto the Magadi Glen, which is sadly our final stop on the reserve. But it's also where we find our warden's post. Our reserve warden takes care of some Nigerian dwarf goats in the front yard here. As dairy goats, the mothers produce a really sweet milk, higher in its proteins and nutrients than even a cow's. So our warden often sells that to the nearby villagers, where it's then turned into various dairy products and sold again. Meaning these goats can and do play a pretty integral part in the life of our village. They help to stimulate our economy, and they bring nutrition to many people who need it. This is something true of villages just like ours all over East Africa, with many dairy goats doing the same thing every single day. And with that warden's post being on the edge of the reserve, it does mark the end of our journey together. But we got to see some really cool and intimidating animals out there. We saw those cheetahs and African wild dogs. Even without the lions and crocodiles, that's still a couple of our biggest predators in one coat. And there is one predator on the reserve a bit more fearsome than the rest, and we saw it plenty. It's been sitting on a safari truck this entire time. That would of course be us humans. As these animals' greatest predators, we've got to start trying to be their greatest protectors instead. Now this can be done a lot of different ways. By contributing to the 3 R's of conservation, very easy to do at home and in your everyday lives. You can reduce, reuse, recycle as much as possible. You can also contribute to a wildlife charity, which is a bit easier to do while you're here at Animal Kingdom, so you can round up just a few cents on any purchases that you make today for the Disney Conservation Fund. Now that may not seem like a lot to you, just a few cents, but Disney matches all those donations dollar for dollar. So it does make a big difference over time with everyone helping out a little bit here and there. And I would say one of the easiest ways to help out is by simply being a big animal nerd. As silly as it sounds, it makes a world of difference. You go out and find some new animal facts, learn more about the animals that interested you today, and share what you learned with a friend or a family member. You never know what sharing an animal fact could do to inspire a love of conservation in someone else. But sadly, a lot of people we know have never considered that an important part of their life. And at Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye, as goodbyes are very sad and very final. Maybe with a Kwaharini instead, which is Swahili for go well. And if you are on the right, watch those hands.